The rain started before I even finished reading the notice. At first, it was just a light drizzle, the kind you ignore because you think it will pass. By the time my eyes reached the bottom of the paper, it had turned into something heavier, colder. Rain soaked through my jacket, ran down my neck, and blurred the ink on the page. Final notice of eviction. Those words sat there like they had weight. Like they were pressing down on my chest. I read it again. And again. As if the letters might rearrange themselves into something kinder. They didn't. I stood on the sidewalk outside the building I had called home for 4 years, my suitcase beside my foot, my life reduced to 2 bags and a folded piece of paper. People passed me without looking. Umbrellas opened and closed. Cars hissed through puddles. I felt invisible. I guess this is it, I muttered to myself. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I already knew who it was before I looked. Lena. I should have felt relief. Some small hope that she would show up, wrap her arms around me, say we'd figure it out together. That love didn't disappear just because money did. I was still that stupid back then. I looked up just as a black sedan pulled to the curb. It was clean. Too clean. The kind of car you notice even on a day like this. The passenger door opened first. Lena stepped out, heels clicking against wet concrete like she was walking into a different world than mine. Her coat was new. Beige. Expensive. Her hair was perfect, not a strand out of place, not a single sign she'd been crying or worrying or losing sleep. She looked fine. Behind her, the driver's door opened. A tall man got out, adjusting his cufflinks as if the rain was a minor inconvenience. He held an umbrella, not for me, not even for himself at first, but tilted it carefully over Lena's head. Victor. I didn't know his name yet. But something about him made my stomach tighten. He smiled politely when he noticed me. The kind of smile that never reaches the eyes. Well, Lena said, looking around, then at my suitcase. So it's true. I folded the notice and slipped it into my pocket, even though it felt pointless to hide it now. Yeah, I said. My voice came out rough. It happened faster than I thought. She laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not an awkward one. A real laugh. Oh my God, she said, shaking her head. I told you this would happen. I blinked. Lena. I lost my apartment. And? She crossed her arms. You act like it's some kind of tragedy. People lose things every day. I stared at her, rain dripping off my eyelashes. I thought you'd. What? She interrupted. Feel sorry for you? Victor cleared his throat softly, like he was trying to be respectful. Like this was just an uncomfortable business meeting. I'll give you 2 a moment, he said, though he didn't move away. Lena didn't even look at him. Her eyes were locked on me now, sharp and cold. I waited, she said. I really did. I waited for you to become someone. For things to get better. They were getting better, I said quickly. The job situation. She scoffed. Job situation? You mean the job you're about to lose? My chest tightened. How did you? Because I pay attention, she said. Unlike you. I didn't deny it. I couldn't. My company had been cutting hours for weeks. Rumors were everywhere. I'd been pretending it wasn't coming. Pretending had always been my weakness. So what now? I asked. You came here just to say that? She looked me up and down, her gaze lingering on my worn shoes, my cheap jacket, the suitcase with the broken wheel. "I came to see if you'd finally admit it," she said. "That you're small." The word hit harder than the rain. "Small?" I repeated. "Yes," she said, nodding like she was explaining something simple. "Small dreams. Small paychecks. Small future." Victor shifted his weight, uncomfortable now. But he still didn't leave. "I loved you," I said. "I still." "Don't," she snapped. "Don't say that. Love doesn't pay rent. Love doesn't buy buildings." Buildings. The word echoed in my head. "You're replaceable," she continued. "Men like you always are. There's nothing special about struggling forever." I opened my mouth, then closed it again. Every sentence I had prepared over the years felt useless now. I had sold my watch for her birthday gift. Skipped meals so she could eat out with friends. Taken loans I hadn't told anyone about. And this was what it added up to. "I just needed time," I said quietly. She looked at Victor then, finally. He placed a hand on the small of her back, like it belonged there. "Time is expensive," she said. "And I'm done wasting it." Something inside me cracked. "So that's it?" I asked. "You leave me the same day I lose my home?" She tilted her head. "No. I left you long before today. You just didn't notice." I laughed then. I couldn't help it. It came out broken and ugly. "Did you plan this?" I asked. "Did you wait until I hit bottom?" She didn't answer right away. Victor did. "Life rewards efficiency," he said calmly. "Emotions just slow people down." I looked at him. Really looked at him. His shoes were spotless. His watch probably cost more than my monthly rent. He smelled like something expensive and clean. And suddenly, I understood. Lena smiled. "See? He understands the world." I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. "Good luck," I said. "Both of you." She frowned, disappointed. "That's it? No begging? No promises?" I met her eyes. They were unfamiliar now. Like I was looking at a stranger wearing her face. "I guess I finally learned something," I said. She rolled her eyes. "Don't flatter yourself." Victor opened the car door again, holding the umbrella steady. Lena stepped closer to me one last time. Her voice dropped. "You're not worth waiting for," she said. Then she turned and walked away. The car door closed. The engine started. The sedan pulled back into traffic and disappeared down the street. I stood there long after it was gone. The rain kept falling. I picked up my suitcase, my hand shaking. The building loomed above me, dark windows reflecting a version of myself I barely recognized. A man with nothing left. I realized then that I hadn't just lost an apartment. I had lost my future. And at the time, I truly believed there was no coming back from that. I didn't leave the street right away. After the car disappeared, I just stood there, rain soaking me until my fingers went numb. Part of me kept expecting Lena to come back. To run after me. To say she didn't mean it. That stress had made her cruel for a moment. That part of me was still stupid. When I finally moved, it wasn't because I had somewhere to go. It was because the doorman stepped outside and cleared his throat. "You can't stay here, sir," he said gently. "Building policy." I nodded, unable to look him in the eye. "Yeah, I said. I know. I dragged my suitcase away, the broken wheel scraping against the pavement like it was mocking me. Every step felt heavier than the last. By the time I reached the corner, my shoulders were burning, and my chest felt hollow. I ducked into a cheap cafe, the kind that smelled like burnt coffee and regret. I sat by the window, ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, and watched the rain wash the city clean while my life stayed dirty. That was when the memories started coming back. Not all at once. Slowly. Like a punishment. I remembered the first time Lena and I stood in that apartment together. She had spun around the living room, arms out, laughing. "It's small," she said, smiling at me, "but it's ours." I had believed her. Back then, I was proud. I had a steady job, nothing impressive, but enough. Enough for rent. Enough for groceries. Enough to take her out sometimes. Enough for love. Or so I thought. When she lost her job first, I told her not to worry. "I've got us," I said. "Take your time." She kissed me and called me her hero. I should have seen how easily those words came to her. The bills started stacking up quietly. Electricity. Internet. Credit cards I didn't remember opening. Each time, I told myself it was temporary. That relationships were about sacrifice. When she wanted nicer clothes, I skipped lunches. When she wanted to take courses, I took loans. When she wanted to network, I stayed home and told myself support mattered more than pride. I remembered sitting across from my friend Mark one night, beers untouched between us. "You're bleeding," he said bluntly. "And she's not even holding the knife." "She's trying," I argued. "Things are hard right now." "For you," he said. "Not for her." I had snapped at him that night. Told him he didn't understand love. I hadn't spoken to him much since. The waitress brought my coffee. I thanked her, my voice barely audible. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my messages with Lena. Months of one-sided conversations. Me asking how her day was. Me apologizing for being tired. Me promising things would improve. Her replies got shorter over time. Busy. Later. We'll talk. There was a message from my company, too. Sent that morning. Meeting tomorrow. Mandatory attendance. I stared at it for a long time. So she hadn't lied. I was about to lose that too. I left the cafe and walked until my legs hurt. The city looked different now. Colder. Louder. Like it knew I didn't belong. I ended up at a cheap motel on the edge of town. The clerk didn't ask questions. He didn't care. Inside the room, I dropped my suitcase and sat on the bed. The mattress dipped under my weight, making a sound like a sigh. I laughed bitterly. This is what you get, I told myself. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lena's face. Not the version I loved, but the one from the sidewalk. The one that looked down on me like I was already erased. Around midnight, my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "Victor, she didn't mean to hurt you. She just knows what she wants." My hands trembled as I typed back. "Me, then why say it like that?" The reply came almost instantly. "Victor, because truth usually hurts people who avoid it." I threw the phone onto the bed. Truth. That word followed me into the next day. At the office, the meeting lasted less than 10 minutes. Budget cuts. Restructuring. Apologies that didn't sound like apologies. I shook my manager's hand and thanked him like a trained animal. By noon, I was unemployed. I called Lena. Straight to voicemail. I sent one message. I lost the job too. No reply. Hours passed. Then one message appeared. I can't fix everything for you. I stared at that sentence until the screen went dark. That was when I finally understood. I hadn't been her partner. I had been her safety net. And now that I was torn, she had stepped over me without hesitation. That night, lying on the motel bed, I replayed every moment I ignored. Every warning I brushed off. Every time my gut whispered that something was wrong. I had mistaken patience for love. Sacrifice for loyalty. Silence for peace. And debt for devotion. Outside, cars passed, their headlights flashing across the ceiling. Each one felt like a reminder that the world was moving forward without me. I pressed my palms over my face and breathed slowly. I did this, I whispered. I let this happen. For the first time, the pain wasn't just about Lena. It was about me. About how easily I had given myself away. How I had measured my worth by how much I could carry for someone else. Somewhere deep inside, something hardened. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment everything began to change. Not because my life got better, but because I finally stopped lying to myself. The motel room smelled like bleach and old smoke. I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, watching the flickering light above me struggle to stay on. Every few seconds it buzzed, like it was tired of existing. I understood that feeling too well. My phone sat beside me. Silent. I checked it anyway. Again. And again. Nothing from Lena. No apology. No explanation. No goodbye. Just emptiness. I rolled onto my side and laughed softly. The sound startled me. It didn't sound human. It sounded cracked. So this is it, I whispered. I thought losing the apartment was the worst part. Then the job disappeared. Then the relationship. One by one, the things that made me feel real were stripped away until I was left with nothing but myself. And I didn't like what was left. I got up and walked to the bathroom mirror. The man staring back at me looked older than he should have been. Dark circles under his eyes. Shoulders slumped forward like he was already preparing to be pushed down again. You failed, I told him. The words felt honest. I grabbed my jacket and left the room. I didn't lock the door. It didn't matter. The city at night was louder, sharper. Neon signs reflected off wet streets. People laughed outside bars, arms around each other, full of warmth and noise. I walked past them like a ghost. I didn't know where I was going. My feet just kept moving. Every step felt like it might be the last one I'd ever take somewhere familiar. My phone buzzed. I stopped under a streetlight and looked. A message from Lena. My heart jumped before my mind could stop it. We need to talk. That was all. No, are you okay? No, I'm sorry. Just business. I typed back immediately. Where are you? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Near the building, she replied. Victor is with me. The words settled like poison. I didn't think. I just turned around and walked faster. The rain had stopped, but the streets were still slick, reflecting lights like broken glass. By the time I reached the building, my chest was tight, my breath uneven. They were standing under the awning. Lena leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Victor stood beside her, calm as ever, hands in his coat pockets like he belonged there. "You came fast," she said. "You said you wanted to talk," I replied. She looked past me, scanning the street. "We don't have much time." That sentence hit harder than it should have. "Say it," I said. "Whatever you came to say." Victor sighed quietly. "This doesn't have to be dramatic." I looked at him. "Then why are you here?" Lena answered before he could. "Because he's part of my life now." There it was. The thing I already knew but hadn't allowed myself to say out loud. "How long?" I asked. She hesitated. Victor didn't. "Long enough," he said. I felt something inside me give way. "So while I was breaking myself to keep us afloat," I said slowly, "you were already planning your exit." She didn't deny it. "I needed security," she said. "Stability." "And I wasn't that," I said. She shook her head. "You were never going to be." The words felt rehearsed. Polished. Like she had practiced them in front of a mirror. Victor stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You should see this as a lesson. The world doesn't wait for people who hesitate." I laughed again. It came out sharp this time. "A lesson," I repeated. "You used me as a lesson?" Lena looked uncomfortable now. "I didn't mean for it to end like this." "But it did," I said. "Because you chose it." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I suddenly noticed how close we were to the street. Cars rushed by, headlights flashing, engines roaring like they didn't care who stood in their way. Victor glanced at his watch. "We should go." Lena nodded. Then she looked at me one last time. "I hope you figure things out," she said. "Hope." From her. I stepped back, the noise of traffic growing louder. "Tell me something," I said. "Did you ever love me?" She looked at Victor. Then back at me. "I loved what you gave me," she said. That was answer enough. They turned to leave. Something inside me snapped. "Wait," I said. They stopped. I took a step forward, my vision blurring. "Was it worth it?" Victor answered again. "Yes." Lena didn't. They walked away together, disappearing into the night like my life hadn't just collapsed in front of them. I stood there shaking. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt empty. I walked without direction again, my feet carrying me back toward the motel, toward nowhere. My thoughts were loud, chaotic, crashing into each other. Every sacrifice replayed in my head. Every ignored warning. Every moment I told myself love meant endurance. I crossed an intersection without looking. A horn blared. I froze. Bright headlights rushed toward me, too fast, too close. For a split second, everything slowed down. I thought of my mother's voice. Of Mark's warning. Of the apartment window where the morning light used to fall just right. I thought of who I might have been. Then impact. Pain exploded through my body. The world flipped. The ground slammed into me hard enough to steal my breath. Sound vanished. I tasted blood. The sky above me blurred into darkness. As I lay there, my thoughts drifted strangely calm. So this is how it ends, I thought. Not with revenge. Not with justice. Just erased. My last emotion wasn't anger. It was regret. Regret for trusting too easily. For loving without limits. For not choosing myself sooner. The darkness closed in. And then I breathed. Sharp. Sudden. Painful. Air rushed into my lungs like I had been drowning. My eyes flew open. Light stabbed into them. I gasped and sat up, heart pounding like it was trying to escape my chest. I was alive. Not on the street. Not broken. I was in a bed. My bed. I looked around, trembling. The familiar walls. The old desk. The cracked ceiling corner I used to joke about fixing someday. My apartment. I fumbled for my phone and checked the date. 3 years earlier. My hands shook as I lowered the screen. Somehow, impossibly. I hadn't just survived. I had come back. And this time, I wouldn't die the same way again. I sat there for a long time, staring at the walls like they might vanish if I blinked. My bed. My desk. The faint hum of the old refrigerator in the kitchen. Everything was exactly where it used to be, before the eviction, before the debt, before Lena's laughter cut me open. I pressed my palm against my chest. It was warm. My heart was racing, but it was steady. Strong. I wasn't bleeding. I wasn't broken on the street. I was alive. I grabbed my phone again, hands still shaking, and checked the date one more time. Same result. 3 years earlier. A Monday morning I remembered well, because it was the day Lena had convinced me to co-sign a credit card just in case. A cold chill ran through me. This isn't a dream, I whispered. I swung my legs off the bed and stood up slowly, half expecting my knees to give out. They didn't. My body felt younger. Lighter. Like it hadn't carried years of disappointment yet. I walked to the bathroom mirror. The man looking back at me was familiar, but now I saw him clearly. The tired eyes were still there, but they weren't empty yet. There was still time behind them. Time to choose differently. A knock sounded at the door. I flinched. For a moment, panic surged through me, sharp and irrational. My heart hammered as memories of rain, suitcases, and eviction notices crashed into my head. Another knock. Babe? Lena's voice called out. You awake? My stomach tightened. I took a slow breath and opened the door. She stood there holding 2 coffees, smiling softly like the world had never burned me alive. She wore one of my shirts, my shirt, like she belonged there. There you are, she said. I thought you slept through your alarm again. I looked at her face, really looked. The warmth I used to feel didn't come. Instead, clarity did. This was the same woman who would tell me I was small. The same lips that would later say I wasn't worth waiting for. But she didn't know that yet. Morning, I said. She frowned slightly, studying me. You okay? You look weird. I forced a small smile. Just didn't sleep well. She stepped inside, setting the coffees on the counter. You worry too much, she said easily. You always do. I watched her move through the apartment like it was already hers. Opening cabinets. Checking her reflection in the microwave door. A memory surfaced, her laughing in the same spot, calling this place temporary. I've been thinking, she said casually. We should talk about our finances again. There it was. The beginning. Maybe later, I replied. She turned, surprised. Later? Yeah, I said. I've got work. She stared at me for a second, then shrugged. Fine. Don't forget about the card application tonight. I won't, I said. But I already knew I wouldn't sign anything. She kissed my cheek and left, the door clicking shut behind her. The silence that followed felt heavy, but clean. I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. So this is how it starts, I thought. Again. At work, everything felt familiar in the worst way. Same cubicles. Same tired faces. Same jokes that weren't funny anymore. But I was different. I listened more. I watched more. That was when I noticed Daniel. He sat 2 rows down, always quiet, always typing. In my previous life, I had barely known his name. Now, I noticed the spreadsheets on his screen. The property listings. The financial models. At lunch, I sat across from him. Hey, I said. You work in analysis, right? He blinked, surprised. Yeah. Real estate data, mostly. Mind if I ask you something? He hesitated, then nodded. Sure. I kept my voice casual. If someone wanted to invest small, but smart, where would they start? His eyes lit up, just a little. Depends how patient they are. I smiled. I can be very patient. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from Lena. Dinner tonight? I found a place I really want to try. In my old life, I would have checked my bank balance before answering. This time, I typed back. Maybe. I'll let you know. 3 dots appeared immediately. You're acting strange. I looked at the screen, then locked my phone. For the first time, her approval didn't feel necessary. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the same crack shaped like a crooked lightning bolt. I thought about the road ahead. About how easily I could ruin things again if I let fear or love blind me. I won't rush, I whispered to the darkness. I won't beg. This life wasn't about revenge. Not yet. It was about control. And for the first time since I could remember, my future didn't feel like something that could be taken from me overnight. It felt like something I was finally holding with both hands. Nothing changes faster than people who think they have power over you. Lena didn't ask if something was wrong again. She didn't need to. In her mind, I was predictable. Safe. A constant she could lean on whenever it suited her. So when I stopped reacting the way I used to, it unsettled her. Are you even listening? She asked one night, waving a menu in front of my face. We were sitting in a restaurant she liked, dim lights, expensive plates, the kind of place that made my old self nervous before ordering. I am, I said calmly. She frowned. Then why do you look like that? Like what? Like you're somewhere else. I took a sip of water. Maybe I am. She rolled her eyes. You've been weird lately. You don't argue anymore. I got tired, I said. She laughed. Of what? Of explaining myself. That shut her up. I watched her carefully after that. How she checked her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. How she dressed a little nicer for networking events. How she mentioned Victor's name casually, like it didn't matter. Oh, Victor's doing really well, she said one morning, stirring her coffee. He's thinking about buying another building. I nodded. Good for him. She studied me. You're not jealous? I smiled faintly. Why would I be? That answer bothered her more than anger ever could. At work, things moved quietly. Daniel and I started talking more. He didn't ask why I was suddenly interested in numbers and property trends. He just shared what he knew. Small markets. Hidden value. Patience. People rush, he told me one evening as we packed up. That's where they mess up. I thought of Victor. I won't, I said. I began saving differently. Investing carefully. Not chasing quick wins. Not telling anyone. Lena noticed the changes in small ways. You didn't pay for my course this month, she said one afternoon. I didn't agree to, I replied. She blinked. But you always. I won't always, I said gently. The word won't hung between us like a warning. She recovered quickly. She always did. That's fine, she said. I'll ask someone else. I nodded. You should. That night, I sat alone on the balcony, city lights flickering below. I thought about the version of myself who would have panicked at that sentence. Ask someone else. Back then, it would have felt like a threat. Now, it felt like freedom. A week later, she came home late. The scent of unfamiliar cologne clung to her coat. You smell different, I said casually. She froze for half a second. Must be the place. I didn't push. Letting her think I was blind was easier than confronting her. The real work was happening quietly. Through Daniel, I met Evelyn. She was calm. Observant. She didn't flirt or test me. She asked real questions and listened to the answers. You don't talk much about yourself, she said during our first meeting. I'm learning who I am, I replied. She smiled. That's rare. Lena hated her immediately. Who's she? Lena asked when Evelyn's name appeared on my phone. A colleague, I said. Lena scoffed. She looks ambitious. So do you, I replied. She didn't like that comparison. Meanwhile, Victor's name kept popping up in conversations. Always tied to expansion. Risk. Big moves. He's fearless, Lena said proudly. That's what success looks like. I thought of debt. Of leverage. Of cracks forming under weight. Fearless people fall the hardest, I said. She laughed. You wouldn't know. I didn't argue. Because I did know. I had seen his future. The lawsuits. The panic. The desperation in his eyes. And I knew something else too. The building I would one day lose, the one that broke me, was already starting to strain under his ambition. Numbers don't lie. People do. Late one night, as Lena slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling crack again. Same shape. Same place. Different man. I wasn't weak anymore. I was waiting. And this time, I wasn't the one running out of time. Cracks never appear all at once. They start small. Invisible. Hiding under paint and confidence. Victor's name began to change tone at work. At first, it was admiration. Then curiosity. Then quiet concern. Have you seen his exposure? Daniel asked one afternoon, lowering his voice. I pretended to think. A little high? Daniel exhaled. Too high. He's stacking risk on risk. I nodded, my face calm while my chest tightened. Because I remembered how this ended. Victor expanded fast. He borrowed aggressively. He treated timing like loyalty, something he assumed would never betray him. And Lena encouraged it. He just needs one more push, she said excitedly one night. One more deal and everything opens up. I watched her eyes shine the way they never had when she talked about us. That kind of pressure breaks things, I said. She smiled. Only weak things. I let the comment pass. The building, the one I once lost, came up in Daniel's reports more often. Deferred maintenance. Late contractor payments. Quiet tenant complaints. On paper, it still looked solid. In reality, it was bleeding. I visited it for the first time since my rebirth on a gray afternoon. I walked through the lobby slowly, my hands in my pockets. Mrs. Hahn sat at the front desk. She looked up, squinting. "You look familiar." I smiled. "I used to live here. Third floor." Her face softened. "Oh. The quiet one. That hurt more than it should have." "Things aren't the same," she said quietly. "Owners change, but care disappears." I nodded. "They always do." I didn't tell her who I was becoming. I didn't need to. From that day on, I started buying pieces. Not directly. Never directly. Small stakes through shell accounts. Quiet transfers. Nothing that would alert Victor or Lena. I became a ghost in their empire. Lena didn't notice at first. She was too busy chasing the next high. "Victor says this city is just the beginning," she said breathlessly. "He's thinking international." "That's ambitious," I replied. She leaned closer. "Don't you ever wish you were like him?" I met her eyes. "No." She laughed, but there was uncertainty there now. The pressure started showing. Victor stopped smiling as easily. His phone never left his hand. Meetings ran late. Voices rose during calls. One night, Lena came home angry. "He's stressed," she said. "People are pulling out." "That happens," I said. She snapped at me. "You wouldn't understand." I almost smiled. A letter arrived at the apartment a week later. Tenant association notice. I didn't open it in front of Lena. But I read it alone that night. Delayed maintenance. Safety concerns. Legal review. The first domino. I slept better than I had in months. Lena didn't. She tossed and turned, whispering into her phone late at night. She wore anxiety like perfume now. "Do you think he'll be okay?" she asked me once, out of nowhere. "Victor?" I replied. She nodded. "I think he'll learn," I said. She didn't like that answer. Mrs. Hahn called me 2 days later. "I don't know why," she said, nervous, "but I thought you should know. Inspectors are coming." "Thank you," I said sincerely. When I hung up, I stared out the window at the city skyline. The cracks were spreading. And for the first time, I felt the power shift. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just inevitable. Karma doesn't rush. It waits until there's nowhere left to stand. I didn't go home right away. I walked. No direction. Just forward. Every step felt wrong, like I'd been pushed out of my own life and hadn't figured out where to land yet. Cars passed too close. People laughed too loudly. Someone shouted into a phone like nothing in the world was broken. That was the part that hurt most. The world didn't pause for me. By the time I reached my apartment, the sun was already high, light pouring down like it was mocking how dark everything felt inside me. I unlocked the door, dropped my keys on the counter, and stood there staring at the wall. Just stared. The silence inside was heavier than the noise outside the building. No phones ringing. No tenants asking questions. No Marcus pretending everything was fine with that calm, confident smile. I sat on the couch and finally let myself breathe. That's when my phone buzzed. Group chat, Founders Friday. I hadn't been removed yet. That alone felt like an insult. Jake, crazy news about the building. Didn't expect that. Lena, hope everyone's okay. Tom, Marcus said it was unavoidable. My chest tightened. I typed. Deleted. Typed again. Me, unavoidable how? 3 dots appeared under Marcus's name. Then disappeared. Jake replied instead. Jake, man, Marcus told us you couldn't keep up financially. Said he had to step in. I stared at the message until the words blurred. Couldn't keep up. I thought about the nights I slept on the office floor. The weekends I skipped meals to pay contractors. The money I poured in while Marcus talked about long-term strategy and timing the market. I typed slowly, carefully. Me, that's not true. Seconds passed. Then minutes. No one replied. Not a single person defended me. I tossed the phone onto the cushion beside me and rubbed my face with both hands. My skin felt tight, like it didn't belong to me anymore. A knock hit the door. I flinched. Another knock followed, softer this time. I opened it to see Elena. She stood there with her arms crossed, eyes scanning my face like she was already preparing herself for disappointment. You okay? She asked. No, I said honestly. But I will be. She stepped inside anyway. We sat across from each other, the coffee table between us like a line neither of us wanted to cross. She kept glancing at her phone, then back at me, like she was trying to balance 2 versions of reality. Marcus called me, she said finally. Of course he did. And? I asked. She hesitated. That pause hurt more than anything she could have said. He said you knew this was coming, she continued. That you were struggling and didn't want to admit it. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because if I didn't, I might break something. So that's the story now, I said. I just failed. She didn't answer right away. Elena, I said quietly. Look at me. She did. You've seen what I put into that place, I said. Every night. Every dollar. Do you really think I'd just walk away? Her eyes softened, but not enough. I don't know, she said. Lately, you've been stressed. Distant. Because I was fixing the building, I snapped. Then I lowered my voice. For us. For the future. She sighed. Marcus said. Marcus lied, I cut in. Her jaw tightened. You always say that when someone disagrees with you, she said. That sentence landed harder than the lock clicking shut behind her. So you believe him? I asked. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She stood up. I need time, she said. Everything feels unstable right now. Unstable. My business. My reputation. Now us. She kissed my cheek on the way out. It felt like goodbye even though she didn't say it. When the door closed, I stayed on the couch for a long time, staring at the empty space where she'd been sitting. I replayed every conversation I'd ever had with Marcus. Every laugh. Every handshake. Every time he said, I've got your back. I checked my email. There it was. Subject, Change in ownership, notice to tenants. Sent from Marcus's address. My fingers shook as I opened it. It was clean. Professional. Polite. It painted him as the responsible one. The man who had taken on full responsibility to ensure stability moving forward. I wasn't mentioned. Not as a partner. Not as a founder. Not even as a problem. I was erased. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Marcus. I almost didn't answer. Almost. Hey, he said. Same tone as always. Friendly. Familiar. Fake. Why are you telling people I failed? I asked. I'm explaining the situation, he replied. You're taking it personally. You stole from me, I said. That's personal. He sighed, like I was being difficult. You should have read the documents, he said. This is business. Then why lie? I demanded. Why turn everyone against me? I'm not turning anyone against you, he said. People draw their own conclusions. By hearing your version first, I shot back. Silence. Then he said, look, if you want, I can offer you a small consulting role. Help with maintenance or something. Maintenance. I stood up so fast the couch creaked. You think I'd work for you? I said. I think you need income, he replied calmly. That was the moment something inside me went quiet. Not rage. Clarity. No, I said. I don't. He scoffed. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. You already did, I said, and hung up. By evening, my phone had stopped buzzing. Friends had chosen sides. Most of them chose the man who still had the building. I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, replaying every decision that led me here. Trusting him. Letting him handle the paperwork. Believing loyalty mattered more than ink. I told myself there had to be a fix. An appeal. Some way back. But underneath that hope was a darker truth I couldn't ignore anymore. Marcus didn't just want the building. He wanted me gone. And the worst part? He thought I'd disappear quietly. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of it all settle into my bones. If loyalty was a joke to him, then maybe it was time I stopped laughing too. The meeting room smelled like cheap coffee and nervous sweat. I arrived early, not because I had to, but because I wanted to see the room before it filled with lies. Long table. Plastic chairs. A projector humming softly at the front like it was tired of being used to justify bad decisions. I sat near the back. Quiet. Invisible. The way Marcus always thought I was. People filed in one by one, investors, legal reps, a few tenants who looked confused and scared. I recognized faces that hadn't replied to my messages. Faces that had believed his version because it was easier. Marcus walked in last. Suit sharp. Smile ready. He looked confident. Too confident. The kind that comes right before the ground gives way. He didn't notice me at first. When he did, his smile faltered for half a second. Just enough. What are you doing here? He asked quietly, leaning toward me. I was invited, I said. Same as you. His jaw tightened. This isn't the place. I met his eyes. It's exactly the place. He straightened and walked to the front before I could say more. The meeting started. Slides appeared. Numbers moved. Words like stability, transition, and strategic consolidation floated around the room like smoke. Marcus spoke smoothly. He always had. As many of you know, he said, recent challenges required decisive action. I stepped in to protect the asset and ensure continuity. Protect. That word almost made me laugh. I watched Lena from across the room. She sat near the front, legs crossed, hands folded tightly in her lap. Her eyes flicked toward Marcus every few seconds, searching for reassurance. She hadn't seen me yet. Good. Marcus continued. Ownership has been restructured to prevent further losses. Majority control now rests with. He paused, glancing at his notes. With a new holding entity. Murmurs spread. A man raised his hand. Who controls the entity? Marcus smiled. A private investor group. That was my cue. I stood. Chairs scraped. Heads turned. Lena's eyes met mine. Her face drained of color. Hi, I said calmly. That group is me. The room went silent. Marcus froze. What? Someone asked. I walked forward, every step steady, my heartbeat loud but controlled. My name is on the filings, I continued. I acquired the outstanding debt and remaining shares over the last few months. Quietly. Marcus laughed, sharp and forced. This is a misunderstanding. No, I said. This is the paperwork you didn't think anyone would read. I nodded to the lawyer sitting near the projector. He cleared his throat. It's accurate. Control transferred this morning. Lena stood up abruptly. That's not possible, she said. You don't have that kind of money. I looked at her. I didn't, I said. I learned. Marcus's face hardened. You planned this. I shook my head. I survived this. Voices overlapped now. Questions flew. Accusations followed. I waited. When the noise settled, I spoke again. I'm not here to humiliate anyone, I said. I'm here to correct the record. I turned toward Marcus. You told people I failed, I said. You told them I couldn't keep up. I pulled out a folder and slid it onto the table. That's every transfer I made. Every contractor invoice I paid. Every hour I put in while you leveraged the future. His mouth opened. No sound came out. I didn't lose the building, I continued. I was pushed out. Lena stared at the papers, then at Marcus. You said, she started. He didn't look at her. The lawyer spoke again. Given the new ownership, all prior decisions are under review. Marcus finally looked at me, panic flickering behind his eyes. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. We can work something out. I felt a strange calm wash over me. No, I said. We already did. The meeting ended shortly after. People avoided my eyes as they filed out. Some nodded. Some whispered. No one apologized. Lena waited until the room was empty. She approached slowly, like I might vanish if she moved too fast. You planned this, she said again, softer now. I prepared, I corrected. Her voice trembled. Why didn't you tell me? I thought of the sidewalk. The rain. The word small. You didn't ask, I said. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know you were capable of this. I met her gaze. You never tried to. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. This isn't about revenge, I said. It's about respect. And I don't think you ever respected me. She swallowed hard. Is there anything left for us? I shook my head slowly. I took back the building, I said. Not the past. Marcus walked past us without a word, shoulders hunched, confidence gone. For the first time, he looked small. I watched him leave. Not with satisfaction. With closure. Later that evening, I returned to the building alone. Mrs. Hahn looked up from the desk, eyes widening. You're back, she said. I never really left, I replied. I rode the elevator to the top floor and stepped out onto the roof. The city stretched out below me, lights blinking on one by one as the sun dipped behind the skyline. I breathed deeply. For the first time in a long time, the air didn't feel heavy. I hadn't won by destroying anyone. I had won by refusing to disappear. And standing there, looking out over the place that once broke me, I finally understood something simple and powerful. I didn't need to prove my worth anymore. The building was mine. But more importantly, so was my life. The building was quiet the morning after the meeting. Not empty. Just calm. I walked through the lobby slowly, listening to the echo of my footsteps on the polished floor. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, warming the space in a way I had never noticed before. For years, this place had felt heavy, like it was constantly bracing for something bad to happen. Now, it felt like it could finally breathe. Mrs. Hahn stood behind the front desk, sorting mail. When she saw me, she froze for a moment, then smiled. They told me you're the owner now, she said carefully. I am, I replied. But nothing changes for you. Your job is safe. Her eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. Thank you, she whispered. Not many people remember who kept things running. I do, I said. I always did. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, stopping on each floor. Tenants peeked out of their doors, unsure whether to greet me or avoid me. Some nodded politely. Some looked relieved. No one looked afraid. That mattered. By the time I reached the rooftop, the city was fully awake. Cars moved like veins of light. People hurried toward jobs, meetings, lives that felt urgent to them. I leaned against the railing and let the wind hit my face. For the first time since everything fell apart, I wasn't replaying the past or bracing for the next disaster. I was just standing. My phone buzzed. A message from Mark. Heard what you did. Proud of you. I smiled. We met later that day for coffee. He didn't say, I told you so. He didn't ask for details. He just listened. You look different, he said. I feel different, I replied. That afternoon, I met with Evelyn in my new office, my old one, reclaimed. She looked around the space quietly before sitting down. You didn't rush, she said. Most people would've. I've rushed enough for one lifetime. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. If you ever want to build something steady, I'm in. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't want to. But because for once, I didn't need to promise anything. That evening, I returned to my apartment, the same one I'd woken up in after Rebirth. The crack in the ceiling was still there. The furniture was still mismatched. But it felt like mine in a way it never had before. I sat on the floor, back against the couch, and let the quiet settle in. I thought about Lena. About Marcus. About the version of me who believed love meant sacrifice without limits and loyalty meant silence. I didn't hate them. Hate would have meant they still had power over me. Instead, I felt something closer to understanding. They didn't break me. I broke myself by giving too much of who I was away. Outside, the city lights flickered on. I stood and walked to the window, looking out over the building, the entire building, standing solid and still. A symbol, maybe. But more than that, a reminder. A home isn't just walls and ownership papers. It's the place where you stop pretending. Where you stop shrinking. Where you finally decide you're enough. I turned off the lights and lay down, the weight on my chest gone. Tomorrow, there would be work to do. Repairs. Meetings. Decisions. But tonight, I allowed myself one simple truth. No one could take this from me again. Not the building. Not my future. Not myself. And for the first time in a long time, I slept without fear.